it the other way.
Yeah,
please.
it's okay. He's gonna be able to make 2 of them for us because you just use 1 can. A nice iced coffee this morning. What'd you put in it?
I'm a rubber band.
Oh, can this work for now?
Yeah, my hair's gonna fall down the back.
It's good, baby. You put some Starbucks cold brew in it?
Yeah, and it's cocoa and honey with cream. And then
that's the
the
energy?
caramel. No, that's just the cold brew. And then the caramel triple energy.
I thought you said that stuff was like an energy booster.
This is
That is?
triple shot energy extra strength.
Triple shot. Triple shot.
That's just
It's the coffee, cold brew coffee?
the Starbucks already has all that extra shit in it, you know.
Okay. Today, May 25th, 2020. Good day, Sunday. No, Monday. Memorial Day. Honor of all the fallen. It's good.
People say people get it, you know, this generation will get it confused because everybody wants to barbecue and party and this is Memorial Day, you know, but it's actually, you know, people who died for our country, for this piece of shit country.
Well, I mean, yes, it's turned into one, but I feel like what this country was founded on and everything is great, but what's going on in the world with what they're trying to do by trampling over our constitutional rights and then letting it happen, that's where there's the problem. That's where it makes this country shitty. And it's up to us if we let it happen, you know, like.
But a lot of our men go to war and we get killed by our own men.
Well, and then all wars is manufactured wars. Like they're all manufactured. That it's means to an end. Manufacture means to an end because of money and power and control. And so, like, really, yeah, and yeah. I mean, all wars really can be traced back to basically a manipulation and not needed to be fought. You know, why the reason behind going to the war. You know, like even 9/11. Like, yes, it was because of the attack on the 9/11, but then that was an inside job. And then on top of that, like there were things that they were bombing over there that had nothing to do with the war at all. And it was to get artifacts and stuff that had ties to all kinds of other stuff, like from like it's a big, huge cover up, you know. So, like, you know, is what they tell us, you know, is one thing, but then what's the other than what's really going on, you know, like, so yeah, it's sad that, you know, people had to die, you know, thinking they're fighting for our freedom, whenever really that wasn't the case, but is they didn't know, you know, and then hearing about, a video we watched, they were talking about how if they are stupid enough to think that's what they're doing and to go fight for those reasons, you know, then they deserve what they get. Then good for them. Like, and it's they say the more intelligent minds that see above all that shit, you know, are the ones pulling the strings, you know, like, and using people's lives like it's a fucking game. It's horrible. I mean, it is a game, but not when you play with someone's life like that, you know. Whether you live, you know, many lives or not, you know, like, that's not cool. Not cool at all. You know, and so then, yeah, like the real, like there's a sinister meaning behind it. You can look it up. I don't know exactly what it is. I didn't care to look up what it actually was, but there's actually a sinister meaning behind Memorial Day that I'll probably look up after this video. But I didn't check out what that is. You know, like, you know, it's pretty crazy. But it's just crazy. It's just so messed up how this world manipulates us and tries to put the blindfolders on. You know, and it's just crazy.
You need a vitamin, have you?
We'll get him real quick. Or you want to go get him and I'll pray real quick?
I don't want to pray with you.
Okay, yeah, I'll pray.
But yeah, I need you to get my in my backpack. There's those pills. My energy bills.
You want just one?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Father, I just want to thank you, Lord, for an amazing day, and just want to pray for all the men and women that have died, no matter what circumstances, or whether they're fighting abroad or over here. It doesn't matter. We just honor their lives and lift them up to you, Lord. And we just thank you for their service, whether in vain or not in vain. It doesn't matter. I just praise you, Father. I just praise you for your goodness and for turning all that this world intends for bad, turning it to your good and your amazingness. And I just am in awe and wonder and thanks to you, Lord. And I just pray for anyone right now struggling, going through a hard time, Lord, like always, that you just show up and show out for them. In Jesus Christ's holy heavenly name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Really good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm addicted. I'm addicted. Starting to rain finally? Yes. Finally. Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's that thing right there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, this is really cool. The power to do good. Do justice to the weak, poor, and fatherless. Maintain the rights of the afflicted and needy. Deliver the poor and needy. Rescue them out of the hands of the wicked. Psalms 82:3-4. heard a story about a former New York City mayor, Fiorello LaGuardia. One winter night in 1935, LaGuardia paid a visit to night court in the poorest section of the city. He told the judge to take the night off, took his seat on the bench, and presided over the night's cases himself. Soon a tired, despondent elderly woman appeared before him because she had been charged with stealing a loaf of bread. In her own defense, she said, "My daughter's husband left her. She is sick, and her children are hungry." The storekeeper had no mercy. With a sigh, LaGuardia said, "Woman, the law is clear. I have to punish you." He fined her $10. As he was pronouncing the woman's sentence, LaGuardia was simultaneously reaching into his pocket to pull out a $10 bill. He dropped it into his hat and said, "Here's the $10 fine, which I now remit, and furthermore, I'm going to fine everyone in this courtroom 50 cents for living in a town where a person who has to steal bread so her grandchildren can eat." Mr. Bartlett collected the fines and gave them to the defendant. The total collected for the grandmother was $47.50. I like the fact that the mayor of the New York City used his position of authority to influence others to help the poor grandmother. Anytime we can inspire to or provoke others to do good, we need to do so. Love others today. Whenever possible, use your influences to encourage others to do good.
Yeah, that's wonderful. You want to talk on that one? Yeah, that's like that's like think about it. Like when people steal, when it's not done as an addiction or anything, well, when it's done purely as survival, purely, not even for yourself, but like for your kids, or for your daughter's kids, or whatever the case, like as a community, what does that say about us for not helping someone like that out, Like, and granted, there are people that are, whether it's humbleness or prideness, don't want to ask, there's a fine line between the two, but, like, still, it's our duty, to care about each other and see what's going on with each other and help each other out, like, that's what makes us being, that's what makes us human, and that's what this age has come into with this technology and the cell phones and the social media is distancing us from all that, and then you got people, I got a friend, like, God bless his soul, he's outdone his welcome, getting online, asking people to help him, with constantly, someone help me, with food, help me with this, like, I'm starving or hungry, just doing it all the freaking time, like, it just, and I seen people lit his freaking, the last post I seen lit his ass up, like, then there comes a point where people take advantage of it, and that's not okay either, but still, like, it's very easy to tell and see when someone really needs the help, needs the extra hand, and what does that say about us when we don't even care to find out, like, that's one thing that definitely needs to, start changing and start coming back to, we need to start getting back to our roots, really caring about people and, and inspiring good acts like that. Like, that's amazing. That's wonderful.
I just liked it that, the judge, the law is the law,
So he fulfilled the law, and at the same time, made it to where an awesome lesson and blessing was done. Like that's an amazing example of what Jesus did. He came and fulfilled the law, and then inspired, us, to go and the blessings and saving that he showed up for and showed the way for us. We can go and show the way to others. Like it's the kind of thing where like those benefits can roll uphill instead of shit having to roll downhill all the time. It's what we're used to, but that's one thing where the good is for all, and it's such a good little story right there. I really like that one a lot. That was real good. real good. I guide you in the way of wisdom and lead you along straight paths. I know how confused you sometimes feel and how much you long to find the way forward. You have tried so many different things, you have been so hopeful at times, yet your hope-filled paths have led to disappointment. I want you to know that I fully understand how hard your journey has been. I also assure you that I can bring good out of every bit of it. This is the way of wisdom, trusting me no matter what happens in your life. It is through trust that you follow me along the right path. There are many things that seem random or wrong as you go along your journey, yet I am able to fit them all into a comprehensive plan for good, my master plan. So don't be fooled by the way things appear at a given point in time. You are looking at only a very small piece of massively big picture. From your limited perspective, your journey may be confusing, with puzzling twists and turns. However, from my limitless big picture perspective, I am indeed leading you along straight paths. I guide you in the way of wisdom and lead you along straight paths. Proverbs 4:11. We are sure to know that God being a partner in their labor, all things work together and are fitting into a plan for good to all and for those who love God and are called according to his design and purpose. Romans 8:28. A man's steps are directed by the Lord. How then can anyone understand his own way? Proverbs 20:24. Let me fill you with joy and peace. They flow into you as you. Oh, what am I doing? Whoops. Ah, right away there. Okay. Yeah, that was good. Good one. Good one. And in that prayer, it's just talking about, God working all things out for his good, that to those that are called according to his purpose. Right. That's the truth. That is the truth. You find good in any bad situation, even the most senseless, horrible acts. There is some good that can come of it. Some good effect that it's going to have on one person. Whether it's just a lesson learned, realizing something, and then in that evil or hatred or senseless act can then turn and go give love, compassion, and understanding, and break that cycle or be the difference, than how everyone else would want to respond or react with just more hatred and evil and unnecessary acts, but it does take a godly person, those are called according to his good will, for sure.
Never too late. Sometimes, dear Lord, why work so slowly? Tell me, dear child, have I ever been told, or works? Tell me, dear child, have I ever been too late? Read that later. Oh, the depth of the riches of the wisdom of the knowledge of God, how unsearchable are his judgments, and his paths beyond tracing out. Romans 11:33.
Real short and sweet. Real short and sweet, baby. Mm-hmm. 31 days in this month. I don't like it when there's 31 days in a month. May 25th. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall trouble or hardship, persecution or famine or nakedness or danger or sword? No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. Romans 8:35-37. Today, some 2,000 years after Paul wrote the Q&A in Romans, these potential obstacles remain just as relevant. Troubles and hardships certainly transcend time. You might be facing some kind of trouble or hardship right now. Marriage struggles, physical injury, trouble with your kids. Thanks to social media, persecution can take the form of cyberbullying. Maybe people make fun of you for reading your Bible or for remaining a virgin until marriage. Maybe others ridicule you for walking away from shady business deals. Even if you're not naked or in famine like millions of people in our world, what about financial challenges? Does it ever feel like there's more month left than money? In my country, fortunately, our lives are not endangered by our public worship like in some nations around the globe. But you might still be in danger from a chronic illness, an abusive relationship, or PTSD from old wounds. Paul answered his own question. He knew in all these various obstacles and challenges we are more than conquerors. It's important that we acknowledge that this promise is not fulfilled under our own power, but through the power of the risen Christ who loves us. If you follow Christ, you are more than a conqueror. You are an overcomer. Powerless. Jesus, thank you that nothing and no one can come between us. I'm so grateful for the power of your love and the way it fuels me on my journey. Today, with your help, I will overcome every obstacle that comes my way. And like one thing that like I don't really like. So with like we're connected to a separate recovery group, and their church is not opening up until like well into June. And like why they would, because of this virus, let them still put hold the mess with our constitutional right to gather together and worship any religion that we choose. They cannot stop that. That's why there's a separation of church and state. Supposed to be. And then for them just to keep going along with it. There's people that aren't sick from this thing that are just fine, that are desperately needing to get back in and worship, and get connected with people again, and just to continue on in this, in with the fear and the panic and the but we shouldn't meet together again yet. It's just, that's just, to me, I don't understand that. I understand, don't want to take risks, don't want to, don't want to. Work, but people are well enough, to realize and know, if they're how they're feeling, it doesn't matter asymptomatic. That's all. I feel like bullshit, really. If you're not feeling well or you're showing any signs, then yeah, don't get out and go. But if you're just fine and healthy and able, there should be nothing stopping us from being able to gather together. And letting them take our rights like that is not good. They've seen that they can do it once. They've seen that but we bounce back really quick, most of us, and I'm really grateful to see that. But they know how easy it was with this little freak out. So then they can do something crazy bad, and then know that they would just have us in their palms, and it's really, that's scary. That's scary to think. Okay.
Is it now, Father? Listen to my instruction and be wise. Do not ignore it. Blessed is the man who listens to me, watching daily at my doors, waiting at my doorway. For whoever finds me finds life and receives favor from the Lord. Proverbs 8:33 through 35. I've been a builder of my life, so when my grandson asked me to help him build something with a new toy that resembles an erector set, I was all in. Unfortunately, I was right in the middle of something important, so I told my grandson I would help him as soon as I had finished my other work. Of course, my grandson faithfully reminded me every 5 minutes that he was ready to begin. Is it now, Papa? He would say each time. I would tell him, not yet, but in a few minutes. Finally, after an hour, which I'm sure seemed like an eternity to him, I stopped what I was doing and said, let's build it. Sometimes it seems like an eternity as I wait for God to do certain things that I've been asking of him. While in recovery, though, I've learned that practicing patience and waiting on God's timing is a part of the Holy Spirit's work in my life. When these virtues are coupled with self-control, meaning under God's control, I am better able to wait quiet, honestly. In my perspective, it seems like he comes through at the very last moment. But the fact is that he always comes through. It is never easy to wait, but things always work out better when we do. Prayer. My loving Papa God, thank you for helping me learn patience as self-control as I wait for your perfect timing. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. And that just goes, right with what, we watched right before we started, basically the law of attraction, it's the principles found in the Bible, you know, that they were actually removed from the Bible. It's more in the Book of Thomas, and then in the Aramaic Bible, before they edited it the in third century, right? Fourth century, 300 AD or something AD. So, you know, like you can ask all day long, you know, and then be thankful and praise, you know. But so the acting as if praying as if you've already received what you're praying for, you know. But it's marrying your thought with your emotion. Okay, like if you're asking for something and you're wondering why you're not receiving it or it's taking so long, you know, like it could just be it's what God wait for God's good timing, or it could be something deeper, and you're only asking with your head and not your heart. Because if you're only asking with your head or with your mouth, then you're probably not going to receive it. You know, you gotta marry your thought with your emotion. Ask from your heart. You know, divorce from judgment and any kind of self-seeking or serving motive. You know, and when you can do that, you know, when you can honestly do that, which is really ain't hard, then you can bring whatever into fruition in your life. Like you can live your best life right now, you know, and it doesn't have to be 10, 20 years down the road. You know, it could be, you can get all these things that you would want to acquire within just like a year. You know, it's just, you know, do you want to spend the time and do the work necessary within yourself, you know? Because like you can't do these things. You can't manifest your best life whenever you're sitting here worried all the time, stressed out, pissed off at the world. You know, like you can't expect a garden to grow in a field of weeds. It just ain't gonna happen. You know, so you gotta do the work necessary. You know, and then once you do that, then you can practice these things and bring whatever into your life that you desire, and it's amazing. And they're biblical principles. You know, it's straight from God Himself. You know, from Jesus. You know, and it's really cool, really really cool. My turn. It's your turn. It's your turn. The good or the best. If you take the left, then I will go to the right. Or if you go to the right, then I will go to the left. Genesis 13:9. As soon as you begin to live the life of faith in God, fascinating and physically gratifying possibilities will open up before you. These things are yours by right, but if you are living the life of faith, you will exercise your right to waive your rights and let God make your choice for you. God sometimes allow you to get into a place of testing where your own self, where your own Okay, yeah, where God sometimes allows you to get into a place of testing where your own welfare would be the appropriate thing to consider if you are not living the life of faith. But if you are, you will joyfully waive your right and allow God to make your choice for you. This is this discipline God uses to transform the natural into the spiritual through obedience to His voice. Whenever our right becomes the guiding factor of our lives, it dulls our spiritual insight. The greatest enemy of the life of faith in God is not sin, but good choices which are not quite good enough. The good is always the enemy of the best. In this passage, it was seen that the wisest thing in the world for Abram to do would be to choose. It was his right, and the people around him would consider him to be a fool for not choosing. Many of us do not continue to grow spiritually because we prefer to choose on the basis of our rights instead of relying on God to make the choice for us. We have to learn to walk according to the standard which has its eyes focused on God. And God always says to us, as He did to Abram, walk before me. Genesis 17:1. Yeah, I mean that's good. I like that one. But you know, like I just see that just leading back, putting, well, what does God want to choose for me? You know, like, and then and that just brings people again to depend upon the church. You know, because who has the voice of God? Oh, the church elders, all this stuff. You know, but really though, I mean, you can have right, you can hear from God right inside yourself, and if you're not there yet, you know, your life circumstances, situations, will come, and it's easy to think, well, what would be the best right action? You know, what's the best choice I can make in this? You know, and God's gonna imprint that on your heart. You don't need to go to anyone for that answer. You know, and And it's that's what the whole thing of free will is, you know. So we do have the right, you know, to choose, and you shouldn't let anyone take that from you or depend on anyone for your choice, you know. Like God instills with you the best right answer. You don't need to search for it outside of yourself. I don't feel like, but it's still good though. You can realize that. Okay.
Be adopted. I will not leave you as orphans. I will come to you. John 14:18. As a kid growing up in the 60s, I'll never forget this sight. A framed certificate centered and prominently positioned on the wall of Sally's bedroom, which read Certificate of Adoption. Adoption was signed, sealed, and guarded as a shameful secret in the 1960s, yet Sally's parents publicly proclaimed and affirmed her adoption for all to see. Why? My sweet friend's parents specifically sought out Sally for adoption. She was wanted, chosen, asked for, included, and loved, so well loved. Like a heart-beating love pulsated in Sally's home. Shame was exchanged for adoption into her new family as her new name was positively proclaimed for all to see. Sally was grafted into the family, her new heritage established, and her new bloodline openly and honestly acknowledged. This is how Jesus adopted us. Have you read his promise? I will not leave you as orphans, I will come to you. Jesus announced that he will come to each one of us. There is no stone he will leave unturned to come to you. You are ready to receive him. Are you ready to receive him and all he has for you? The invitation is open. Be adopted by Jesus today. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. You, dear friend, are wanted, chosen, asked for, included, and loved. So well loved. You too are adopted into a new family when Christ comes to you and you come to him. Your name is proudly proclaimed as a daughter of the King of Kings and Lords of Lords forevermore. Father, help me know I am forever your child.
Yeah, I'm really glad that someone was read today. That's amazing. That's so good. Okay, so you know, like what Jesus was trying to do, what he was trying to say with all that, and it got so manipulated was, you know, when he went and learned, I read about the earlier life of Christ, and he went and he learned from Buddhism and Hinduism and these Asian religions, right? And he went and he learned from all of them, and he kind of married the best of all of them together, and that's how he was able to, you know, speak such knowledge and wisdom against these laws in the Old Testament that just weren't very spiritual, weren't very good. It was more dogmatic. It was way more systematic by design. And Jesus, found all these, amazing spiritual truths in these other religions, and he came and married it with, the law. Still fulfilling the law, but at the same time, abolishing the law at the same time, and so what the church did was, like this man, he accepted all faiths, all religions, as long as you're serving God, it doesn't matter, in what way you serve him. All that matters is that you love God. There's no one way or only way. Jesus Christ, he's the way, the truth, and the light, but he's not the only way and the only truth and the only light. And he never tried to say that, and he's way misquoted and portrayed in the Bible with that. God doesn't play favorites. God obviously loves all of his children. That's why he shows himself to all faces of the earth. That's why you've got different religions, because God loves all of his people. He loves all of us. He does not play favorites. And all loving, all benevolent God is not going to sit there, oh, and I choose you because you believe this way. But these people are just as awesome, just as loving, just as amazing. But because you don't want to believe this way, you're damned to fucking hell. Like, I'm so sorry, that's so sinister, that's so evil. Like, and how anyone could pretend that's an all-loving, all-good God is beyond me. Like, that literally makes no sense at all. Like, none. And it's not at all what Jesus came to try to say or do. It's about him saying that, God's love is for everybody. Not just for those that believe in him, and it's just so sad that, people, I let the wool get pulled over my eyes, but at the same time, though, I knew in my heart, never to put anyone down for their beliefs and never ever think or, that someone was going to hell. Like, I never believed that in my heart. I've been in church my whole life, always been a follower of Jesus, but never did I think that God was going to punish people that believed in him in their own way. I just never believed that. And then now to be able to put words to it, and understand it in a way that I can help share that to others is amazing. I'm so glad to finally, come across the knowledge that I have, because it's just so twisted how the church has used it to just manipulate and control and judge and condemn and just push their purpose, which is not a good one. I can promise you that.
You ever read Bird Box? I mean, you watch it with me.
But you watched like a little bit of it. Mm-hmm. Watched like an episode or two. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Holy satisfaction. Death and destruction are never satisfied, and neither are the eyes of man. Proverbs 27:20. Inward, nearly every child has sworn an oath to his parents. Just buy me this one thing, and I'll never ask for anything else again. It's a hollow promise from the beginning. Every parent knows it isn't true. Nearly every Christian has offered a similar prayer to God. Just answer this one thing, and I promise I'll be satisfied. It's a hollow promise. God knows better. Deep down, so do we. What is it about human nature that is always craving but is never content? We've all approached milestones in our lives with the thought that once the milestone is accomplished, we will be happy with our lives, but we never are. As soon as the next job is realized, the next house is bought, the next car is driven, the next relationship results in marriage, or whatever we're looking for to is accomplished, we set our sights on something new. Whatever the reason, we can know at least one thing about our cravings. They indicate that we're missing something deep within us. We have a gnawing hunger for more meaning, more purpose, more results. We can thank God that He made us that way. It's His design for our fruit bearing and our growing relationship with Him. But we also have to be aware of how sin has distorted that design. We turn it towards possessions, people, places, and personal agendas instead of letting a holy discontentment drive us towards God and His kingdom. We let our twisted discontentment drive us towards fulfilling our needs in unholy ways. We're looking for a life in all the wrong places. Indeed, the proverb is true. The eyes of man are never satisfied, but a maturing relationship with God will shine light on our dissatisfaction. It will also turn it towards the things that really fulfill us. We will find that it is in fact possible to be content with the things of the world and still be driven by a desire for God. He is the only one who satisfies. So like there's a really easy answer for all that. Why there's that desire, for knowing that, it's just because like we have a hole in our hearts that you can say is meant for God to fill, but He's never going to be able to fill that while we're here, because we come from a place of perfectness. We come from a heaven, right? We come from being in the perfect state of being, and then come into life with that hole inside of us, with that void. And spiritual things, godly things, can definitely satisfy and make you content. The hole will never be filled. There will still always, and it's okay to want to have more. Like that's what there's a progression to life. You'll have a certain set of problems that you will repeatedly go through until you learn those lessons, and then you graduate to a new set of problems. The same thing with things you want to acquire. Like you're going to acquire this, and then it'll be good for a while. And then you get to a place to where, hey, now you can handle it and want more. It's not wise. It's not good to want something that you can't handle. God's probably not going to bless you and grant you something that you cannot handle. Why trust you with a mansion whenever He can't even trust you with your own house? Why trust you with a family whenever He can't even trust you with your own self? You know, so like, but once you can get in a place to where you can handle those things and be promising and content and virtuous with the small, then he'll be fine. Granting you bigger lessons to learn. More desirable lessons to be learned. That's just the way the world works. That's the way God works, I should say. And it's a beautiful design. This world does. It tries to throw wrenches and screws in the mix. Whether it be through sin or whatever. Like I said earlier, like you cannot grow a garden in a field of weeds. You just can't do it. And that's what the world tries to do. It tries to. The world is the weeds, and you gotta clear out your path. You gotta get through all the shit. Figure out what is the shit. Abandon it. Get rid of it. Till that field. Empty that cup out. Then you can fill it with all the good stuff that you desire. And that is all loving and it is all good, and is at your best interest and those around you, and to see all that come to fruit. God will most definitely bless and honor all that. It's not like we can be righteous. We can be way better than what we were before. We're not always these evil, sinful, horrible creatures or beings. Like we may start out that way, but hopefully you learn what you need to learn, and you realize that that you don't remain that way. We're constantly in a state of change. And we do grow, we do get better, and then we can't sustain that. We can't remain that way. You don't have to go backwards. Mm-hmm.
God has been thank you for being awesome, amazing, and just being here for us all and helping us through any problems or struggles that we may be going through. I ask you to stay amazing and awesome. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen, amen, amen.
Turn it off.